Hello everybody, nice to be sitting down in front of the camera properly with a microphone and all the gear that I've got here, and just starting to take a little bit more time over my videos. I think over the last couple of months I've rushed videos out to be getting them up quickly after the games, but I think I just want to spend a little bit more time focusing on the quality of the uploads that I've been putting out. I haven't really been focused too much on YouTube over the last couple of months. It's been very work heavy couple of months really since Christmas, and it will continue to be so, but I need to take a little bit of time for myself and to do things that I enjoy doing as well, and that's what this hopefully will become over the next couple of months, because I've only really done videos after games now, rather than these little chats and stuff, which I do enjoy doing as well, and hearing your opinions on those. And I've got another couple of videos lined up. I've actually written scripts for 2 videos, which I haven't done for 18 months or so, nearly, going back to the beginning of last season, when I was doing transfer rumour videos and stuff like that, all those months ago. But I've got a couple of videos in mind, and hopefully we'll get those out in the next couple of weeks or so. But as I said, YouTube for me has been a great source of enjoyment over the last couple of years, and the amount of my channel has grown has been superb. But I've been surpassed now by other people who've got better and bigger YouTube channels than me now for the Wolves. So I need to pull my finger out a little bit and try and catch up with a couple of other people who have gone way past where my channel was in terms of subscribers and in views as well, and hopefully try and just reinvent myself a little bit on YouTube, and perhaps talk about wider football events and incidents. And that's what I want to start off with today. I want to look back over Super Sunday yesterday, and it was billed as a Super Sunday, and should have been a Super Sunday, but really it was quite an anti-climax really. The first game on yesterday was United against Liverpool. Obviously a big game in the title race, and a big result really as well. Liverpool will be disappointed, particularly the way that the game panned out, with Man United having to make all those substitutions in the first half. Liverpool weren't able to capitalise. I thought they were very poor actually. In hindsight, they weren't able to get the front three into the game much at all. Possibly that's down to Jordan Henderson. That's why he was substituted, and he wasn't very happy to be substituted. But we'll return to that in a few moments. As well, I thought Man United were resilient in their defence, and in fairness to them, their fans coming for a lot of criticism, particularly Old Trafford, for being quiet. But since Solskjaer has gone in there, the atmosphere at Old Trafford has improved greatly, and there just seems to be a much more positive vibe at Old Trafford at the moment. But these injuries and how they're going to pan out now over the next couple of weeks will be interesting to watch. As well, Rashford, although he stayed on for the whole game, there were rumours of him having to have an injection at half-time, not being able to put any pressure on his foot as well for long periods of that in the second half and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with United in the next couple of weeks. Of course, it's interest for Wolves because we face them twice in the next few weeks. We've got them on the 16th of March and then the 2nd of April, both at Molineux. And of course, that game in the FA Cup will be a massive occasion. Fingers crossed, a few of those players that went off yesterday will be either still injured or coming back from injury. I think a team without Juan Mata and Herrera and Lingard and Rashford, it's a completely different United team to face. And obviously, where they see Fred in the pecking order is quite interesting as well, because to bring on Lingard, a player who's not fully fit at all, ahead of him, it was quite an interesting move by Solskjaer yesterday. Liverpool, on the other hand, another 2 points dropped. They've given City the opportunity again to get in. That was their game in hand yesterday, of course. City won their game in hand back a few weeks ago against Everton, and then United only being able to get Liverpool only getting a point yesterday. It's a very pivotal moment in the title race. Spurs, of course, as well, missed their opportunity to give themselves that chance to be with a shout, losing against Burnley. They would have had it in their own hands because they still had City and Liverpool to play, but they've got to be long shots for the title now, and it's a straight shootout between Liverpool and Manchester City for the title. And I'm back in Manchester City really. I think they've got the better squad, they've got the better manager, and the experience of winning titles. I think a big factor in the rest of the season is going to be the pressure that the Liverpool fans will, not consciously, but they will give out at home games. 52,000 people who've seen them mess it up from this position so many times before will be so anxious going into every single game. Be very, very interested to see what happens. But then, of course, yesterday, the first big showpiece event of the season, the League Cup final between Manchester City and Chelsea, a fixture that was only played out a couple of weeks ago in the league, and Manchester City coming out 6-0 winners that time. However, Chelsea, I've got to give them a lot of credit for their performance yesterday. I've not been a big fan of Chelsea at all. I think the way that they've gone about their business in the last couple of years in particular has been quite embarrassing really for a professional football club. But yesterday, as the game was unfolding, I did actually want Chelsea to win, because they were the underdogs yesterday and they had done really well tactically, I think, yesterday to stop Man City playing. It was a clear tactic for them to take the game into extra time and to penalties, and as long as it possibly could go, and they did really well to do that. Sarri, I think, needs a lot of credit for doing that. He had come under a lot of pressure recently from Chelsea fans, with them chanting very, very loudly against Sarri ball. But from what I've heard from the people I support Chelsea, who I'm friends with, they place the blame on the players. They say that the players are not good enough, they're not clever enough for Sarri ball. Sarri ball is supposed to be this fast attacking tiki-taka style of play, which has proved successful for Napoli in Serie A last season. And it has been accepted that it takes 2 or 3 years to get this style of play in place, and you can't do it with players who are reluctant or not with the manager, and that's clearly the problem at Chelsea, and it was quite evident yesterday in the final minutes of extra time, with Kepa refusing to leave the pitch to be substituted. Now, a couple of things to mention. If he was actually injured, then he should be coming off. But whatever the manager tells you to do, you should be doing what he tells you. That's the end of it. Because thinking back now about another similar sort of event back in the World Cup in 2014, I want to say it was Stecklenburg for Holland was substituted for Tim Krul. It might have been the other way around. Please correct me if I'm incorrect. But there's a penalty shootout in one of I think it was the last 16 of the World Cup, and Louis van Gaal changed the goalkeeper because they had a specialist goalkeeper who was good at saving penalties, and he won them the tie in the end. Now, that could have been the case yesterday. You had Willy Caballero, who had formerly played for Manchester City, who knew the Man City players, and he might have got into their heads a little bit, the Manchester City players, thinking, well, he knows where we put our penalties. We've practiced against him a couple of years ago, and that could have worked in Chelsea's favour. If that could well have been the reason for the substitution. Kepa might have been injured. He might have gone down and held his hamstring or whatever. Sarri he'd made the decision that he was to come off and Caballero was to come on. What happened next was just ridiculous. Kepa should have obeyed his manager. In fact, Sarri's reaction then was completely justified. If you imagine any other top-flight manager to be defied like that, to be disobeyed like that, they would also react in a similar way. If I would have been Sarri, I would have continued walking down the tunnel and right up to Wembley tube station and got the tube to Heathrow and then flown back to Italy, because he's lost the dressing room, he's lost any sort of respect that any of the players would have had. I would have loved to have been in Cobham this morning for Chelsea's training to see what is actually happening there. It's a very, very strange situation there. You can kind of see where the players are coming from as well at Chelsea, because Sarri has never been a professional footballer. He's never won anything as a manager. He's got this strange career of coming through the lower leagues in Italy and from nowhere. And I think he was a banker, I think he was before football manager. He's come up through all the divisions, ended up at Napoli, and now has somehow ended up at Chelsea. It's quite it's a very, very strange career path that he's been on. But that being said, it's not only Sarri that he defied yesterday. It was Zola and the rest of the backroom staff as well. And I just feel like Chelsea, for the last 5 years, have never really. It doesn't really matter who the manager is. they've always had, the players have always been in charge at Chelsea. But you've always had players like John Terry, Frank Lampard, Drogba, Cech, who have been leaders and sensible professional leaders who obviously, you know, John Terry's been the assistant manager at Villa now for a couple of months. Frank Lampard's been a manager at Derby. Didier Drogba could be the president of the Ivory Coast, I think, by the way his career has gone. So they've had those type of leaders all the time who've been mature and sensible. But now you look at them, they've got David Luiz, Azpilicueta was their captain yesterday. They don't look like a team who've got any sensible, mature leaders. N'Golo Kante, I think, is probably the exception to that rule. I think he's probably the most mature and sensible leader that they've got, but he's quite a quiet and timid little character, so whether or not he would be able to overpower those characters in the dressing room. But I also can't imagine any other manager being defied like that. You can't imagine Klopp or Guardiola or Solskjaer even, I don't think, being defied by any sort of player. You saw Henderson yesterday, referred to earlier on, not being very happy, but he still comes off. You can show your disrespect, you can show your disdain in any other way once you're off the pitch. You can shout at the manager from the bench if that's what you want to do, but I don't think it was particularly respectful at all from Kepa, and it will be interesting to see what happens now in their next few games. Chelsea fan that I work with said that he'd rather see Rob Green in goal for the next few games. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about the couple of games that I've just spoken about there. Wolves, of course, play tomorrow night against Huddersfield, and I'll sit down and do a proper review of the game like this, hopefully, rather than on my phone. I've been quite lazy, and I apologise for that. But if you've enjoyed today's video, if this is the first video that you've seen of mine, then don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel, and I'll keep you updated with more info. Thank you very much. Bye bye.